Oh my gosh, you guys. We can't really put this in here officially. Hey everybody, welcome to Furniture Flipping Teacher. I'm Lauren, and today we are going to be turning this end table into a bathroom vanity. Picked this end table up for $75 at an estate sale. It is a bit pricier than maybe I would normally pay for something like this if I was flipping for a profit to sell it. But since I had the perfect idea for this perfect size piece of furniture, I didn't think that $75 for a vanity was too bad. So if you're new here to Furniture Flipping Teacher, I have been flipping an Airbnb. It's an upstairs portion of a house that we have, and we are very close to the end. But I decided that I am going to be repurposing this nightstand for the bathroom vanity. It needs a little love before we can call it a bathroom vanity. It's been sitting upstairs in that construction zone for several months now, so I am going to give it a good clean. Usually I start with the cleaning solution, but this is so dirty. I'm gonna get that first layer off with just some water. I want to thank Beyond Paint for sponsoring this video, and with using their paint, they highly recommend using Simple Green, which is a degreasing cleaner to clean the furniture before you even start painting. So I am going to go ahead and spray some Simple Green all over the surface of this end table so that we can start with a nice fresh surface. Rinse it one more time and we'll be ready to move on. Cleaning can be a very tedious job, but it is very necessary to get a clean surface, especially when this is pretty much the only prep that we're going to be doing when we're using Beyond Paint. Now for this piece, I have a bit of a failing finish, both here on the top and here on the bottom. So, although Beyond Paint does not require sanding, there are 2 times when you would want to sand your piece before using Beyond Paint. But we'll talk about that once we get to the sanding portion. All right, let's go ahead and sand. So, the reason that it is important to sand if you have a failing finish is because if you're just gonna put a paint right on top of the existing failing finish, chances are it still will be failing because it could chip underneath and then therefore it will chip the paint away. The other reason you might need to sand is if you have those deeper gouges in your surface that you don't want to be seen when you have painted your piece. So I don't really have any deeper gouges. I personally like all of the character that has come along with this piece. It's old and we're just gonna be updating it with some paint. So I'm gonna skip that step for deeper gouges, but I am going to sand down the failing finish as much as I need to in order to get a smoother finish here before we apply the paint. So I'm gonna be using my Ryobi orbital sander here with a 120 grit, and then I'm gonna be wearing my RZ mask. This is just for protecting my lungs so that none of that dust gets into my body. Okay, so sanding didn't take too long, but we did make sure that all that finish is now sanded off and everything is nice and smooth. So we are for sure going to have a great surface to apply our paint. I'm gonna wipe back now with a microfiber cloth to get all that dust off. And then I'll show you what color I'm painting this beautiful soon-to-be vanity. Let's get to painting. So I grabbed my paint. If you guys remember, I painted the Airbnb kitchen cabinets, the lower section, in a custom color with Beyond Paint. I have been loving Beyond Paint and this specific color throughout the Airbnb, and I figured what better way to tie it into the bathroom than to paint the bathroom vanity the same color. So I am going to do the exact same mixture. I've got 3 parts forest green and 1 part navy, deep blue, and Nantucket. This is going to give me that sort of teal blue that we have going throughout the entire Airbnb. I've also got my paint roller and my chip brush that is from the Beyond Paint website. This makes it so easy to just paint your piece. They really recommend to use a 3/8 inch nap roller instead of brushing it on, and then using a chip brush inside of the harder to reach areas. I cannot wait to show you how this is going to turn out, and I am so excited to see the final result. I'm gonna start with the navy because I have the least amount of that. So I definitely want to make sure I can at least get 1 part navy here. I'm gonna start with 2 scoops equaling 1 part. 2 scoops of deep blue, 2 scoops of Nantucket. And I do want to say that Beyond Paint is a bit of a more thicker consistency of a paint than you might be used to. Don't be alarmed. It kind of freaked me out the first time. It's kind of like a pudding substance. So don't be alarmed. It is supposed to be like that because it's got both the primer and the top coat built into it. And then we're gonna do 6 scoops of the forest green to equal 3 parts. Now I'm gonna mix her up. Okay, and also something I wanna remember is that it will tend to dry a bit darker than it looks as it's wet. So this is the perfect color. I am going to do the first coat. So I'm going to be using my chip brush for the more intricate spaces that my roller won't really reach, but I'm gonna start out by rolling the paint onto the more flat surfaces. This is going to give it a little bit of a textured look. It does even out, however, there is supposed to be just the slightest bit of texture. It's not really noticeable, but it really helps with the durability of the paint once it dries. I'm gonna pour just a little bit of paint into my paint tray here. A little bit goes a long way, honestly, so I think I made plenty for this entire piece for 2 coats. So I'm gonna just start by dipping my roller in. When you are using the chip brush, you want to make sure to go in sort of a stippling motion, which is just up and down pretty quick. This is also going to create that texture, but then I just like to go over with the roller as much as possible. Again, these are definitely some harder to reach areas, but if you can try and get that roller to go over them one last time, you're going to get even better results. Okay, that does it for coat number 1. This does need to dry for 2 to 4 hours in order to be ready to put on coat number 2. Ready for coat number 2, but before we do that, I am going to take a very fine rad pad, which is gonna be pretty much equivalent to like a 400 grit sandpaper, and I'm gonna go across the surface of the whole end table here so that I can really smooth out that first coat of paint, and that way we have a nice, fresh, clean, and smooth layer to go ahead and put the second coat on. Okay, now I've got a microfiber cloth that I'm just dusting all of the paint that may have come loose when I was sanding the surface. Okay, and now I'm ready for coat number 2. Between coats, I do like to just wrap my paint tray in a plastic bag, and that way I don't have to clean out my brush or my roller, but it still stays wet in there, and all I have to do is remove the bag and my paint is still going to be in there and ready for coat number 2. Just saves a little bit of work in the long run. I'm not going to be talking much during the second coat, so cue the buttery B-roll. Coat 2, that is the end, so that's gonna dry. And then although Beyond Paint does have a built-in top coat, since this is gonna be acting as a vanity and the potential to get water on it is very high, I am going to put a waterproofing top coat right after this. Here is the top coat. It's a multi-purpose sealer. So Beyond Paint has this option because there are a few places and areas where you may need a little extra protection than just their paint can give you. Things like countertops, outdoor spaces, and really heavy traffic areas. If you've been around a while, you'll know that I actually redid my parents' bathroom almost an entire year ago, and I used this Beyond Paint as well as the multi-purpose sealer on the countertops, and it is holding up amazingly. So I totally trust that this is going to be perfect for the top of my vanity here. So you'll wonder, why in the world am I pouring it into the paint tray that already has the wet blue paint in there? And that's because I like to mix my top coat with darker colors to eliminate any chance of cloudiness or streaks as I apply the top coat. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up, and then we'll roll it on just like we did the regular paint. I do want to mention that this would not be a good idea to mix your top coat and your paint if they're both not water-based. If you're using an oil-based top coat and a water-based paint, those will not mix right. So you have to make sure you're using 2 water-based products, which both of these are. Okay, now we're done with the top coat. So that's gonna dry and then we'll reassemble it. Okay, everything is dry, so we are going to put the drawer back in here. And I am just going to be keeping the original hardware. I'm going for like a brass look in the bathroom with all of the, you know, faucet and just different fixtures throughout it. So those are gonna be like newer brass. And as of right now, I think that this older brass piece will look really nice, just kind of complementing and bringing in that old age of the whole house as well as this specific piece of furniture. All right, there we go. So there's a couple of things that still need to be done with this vanity. The first thing is that we're gonna be drilling a hole here, and then I'm also gonna be chopping the drawer so that when I attach the drain and things down underneath, we still have a little bit of function with this drawer, but at least it's not going to protrude all the way to the back, but it'll probably sit around right here just for little minimal storage since there's not going to be much counter space. So that is going to be the next step with this, but we do need to bring this over to the Airbnb and get it over there so that we can get the measurements for those different things. Oh my gosh, you guys, we can't really put this in here officially. It's gonna go about right there. We're not gonna be able to really get like too many measurements yet because the floor isn't done, but sneak peek, I guess you guys get, of the bathroom. We decided not to do the tile ourselves. It's looking really good. It's not grouted yet, but oh gosh, it looks super good. They're actually working on it like today, so I think they're probably just at lunch or something. This was the best decision, having someone else do it. Sometimes you just gotta be real with yourself and hire things out. I think I was feeling very overwhelmed and stressed with the Airbnb, and I was really missing the furniture, so we just decided to hire most of the other work out. And I mean, they've done really great all the way through the Airbnb, so this is the same. They're doing really great. So
the color of the piece matches perfectly with
the
color there, but
it does. Ties in. I'll show you really quick, just a little bit of a sneak peek of like the sink and what it would look like on top. Let me go grab it. It's a little dirty, pardon the mess, but that is basically what it will look like. It'll be sitting on top. So we'll drill a hole, like I said, and then the faucet will be coming out of the wall. I'm not gonna give you too much more than that though. So you are going to have to get subscribed down below and watch out for, it's gonna be in the coming weeks. We're gonna have this whole bathroom done and we'll do a final reveal. I just wanna thank Beyond Paint one last time for sponsoring this video. You guys know that I have loved using their paint throughout the Airbnb and among other projects as well. So all of the information for those products will be down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.